I'm Julia Albano,
And I'm Gabriela Galarza.
and this is our semester final project on how does heavy work and assignment loads affect both
Working adults and teenagers in high school's mental health.
You may be asking, so what? Who cares? Besides being present in work or at school, work and assignments are fundamental for growth and consistently developing our skills. However, when the amount of tasks overtake into the time we have set to complete work for other classes, tend to extracurricular activities such as sports, rest time after school, or even into our personal time to ourselves on the weekend or during breaks, that's when these tasks begin to take a toll on our mental health for the worse. This affects everyone, especially students who take advanced classes and are held at high standards, like you and me. With our world constantly changing, with technology advancing at quicker speeds than ever before, academic pressure is only one small part of the bigger picture. Technology is another, particularly social media, which has only increased in popularity in the years past. Not only has this affected our physical health, as we have grown too attached to our devices to the point of abandoning any effort to keep a stable exercise schedule, but the content within media has also done so. Nowadays, many teenagers are pressured by the media to look or act a certain way because as humans, we are biologically programmed to seek validation. So, with high, unrealistic beauty standards, it isn't a surprise that these teenagers are constantly pressured left and right to be skinny, to have a certain body figure, or to have a well sculpted body, and to wear makeup in order to impress and be liked by people. And all these constraints only lead to the deterioration of our self esteem and how we look at ourselves, which, in turn, may lead to anxiety, constantly worrying about how others view us, and even depression, as we feel like we'll never be enough. Another thing that isn't often discussed is how culture, an individual's lifestyle, can play a significant part in a person's mental health, specifically looking into religious practices and traditions. For both religious practices and traditions, there are certain limitations to what you can do and what you can say, and for certain people who may think otherwise may feel like they are not free to express themselves and begin to feel more isolated, as if they are not welcomed because of how their ideals may be a little bit different than that of the culture they were raised with. Being an outsider to one's community may lead to anxiety about how people view you and can lead to lower self-esteem and self-worth in consideration of one's identity. Benefits for heavy work and assignment loads. 1. For work, no matter what the job is, no matter how hard the tasks at hand are, adults are constantly helping others, whether they recognize it or not. 2. For school, certain classes, the difficulty depending on the teacher and what the class is, can teach you skills necessary for careers you are looking to enter later in life. And 3. Heavy assignment loads can be anything, new content or old content, and old content can be repetition. Repetition equals better memory. Despite there being some advantages to being given heavy work and assignment loads, unfortunately, the bad outweighs the good under these circumstances. 1. In regards to working adults and high school students, if their manager or teacher is continuously delegating tasks without any consideration for the fact that they too have a personal life and require breaks in which they have the ability to rest and come back recharged, this will cause an imbalance and will lead to extreme burnout, which is the feeling of all emotions, energy, etc. being completely drained from the body due to being swamped. And if this is not taken care of right away, it may result in the person not being able to recover and bounce back as easily, which can cause them to lose their drive to work, which then may lead to anxiety and depression. 2. Connecting it to the first point, one may reach this level of fatigue by losing the specific amount of sleep required to function normally, affecting one's decision-making skills and judgment. And 3. A consistent schedule of stressing may be responsible for the declining of a person's physical health, which, in the long run, may cause underlying health issues such as high blood pressure or heart disease. This dot graph, courtesy of Macro Trends, models the suicide rates in South Korea over the years from 2000 to 2019. In the early 2000s, from 2000 to 2010, we see the steady increase of suicide rates for South Korean people, increasing from 14.50% to 34.00%, while in 2011 to 2016, we see it slowly decreasing from 34.50% to 27.20%. However, there is a quick turn of events and a noticeable increase begins to happen once more from 2017 to 2019, increasing from 25.80% to 28.60%.
With our survey results, we combined all of our data and converted it into a data table. We combined our data into 6 categories: age, gender, sexuality, mental disorder, symptoms, and causes. We had 87 participants total and had them in every category. We had 37 participants in the 14 through 17 age category, 14 in the 18 through 29 age category, 19 in the 30s to 40s, 15 in the 41 through 59, and 2 in the 60 through 69 age category. We had 60 females, 22 males, 3 non-binary, and a couple others as well. Almost 80% of the participants said they were straight, and the other half said they were bi, gay, and other things as well. School and other personal problems caused those who said yes to experiencing symptoms of depression, frustration, irritation, and etc.
The image below, illustrated by American editorial cartoonist Jimmy Margolies, shows the DC hero Superman sitting on a recliner sofa looking distressed as he receives a call from an anonymous person in which he states that he can't act the way people expect him to all the time. This is relevant, especially for teenagers in high school. Yes, it's understandable that balancing everything all at once is hard. Time management can be difficult, and classwork and homework may be overwhelming. And yes, it may be tempting to be perfect and constantly ace everything you're given all the time. But realistically, that's hard to do, because if we push ourselves to our limit, despite our bodies begging for a break, this will only lead to burnout. Although too much stress all the time is not good, a little bit of stress here and there can actually be beneficial, which can be proven by the editorial cartoon below featuring 2 dogs, one venting their problems to another dog who portrays themselves as a therapist by American cartoonist Charles Bersati. This illustration delves into a pro of being assigned a certain amount of work and assignment loads, which is the fact that some stress can help us improve the way in which we handle certain tasks. Within feeling under pressure, our body begins to develop stress management skills which can improve the way in which we handle and delegate everyday burdens.
This photograph represents the toll it takes on teens due to the pandemic. Teens have been greatly impacted by the pandemic and have been put under immense amounts of stress due to the workload from work and schools. This goes back to our topic as to why and what kids have been dealing with for so long and how hard it affects them. The pandemic worsened people's daily schedules and caused even more stress on them than they usually had. This photograph represents the after effects of dealing with horrible mental health for so long that it starts to change you and cause physical harm to yourself. Dealing with too much work can lead to serious health problems and cause you to change into a completely different person. It changes the way you act, the way you feel, and the way you are towards others. It can lead to suicidal thoughts, inflicted self-harm, or the intention of harming oneself. You can experience sudden weight loss due to the loss of appetite and also cause sleep deprivation.
According to Hiram Han and Jimin Lee, 2 workers of the Department of Family and Housing Studies in Yeongnam University located in Gyeongsan, Korea, suicide is becoming one of the most prominent social problems impacting people from South Korea, particularly university students and people within that age range. Not only have they been suffering due to the stresses of low employment rates and economic problems, but also due to the high academic standards held above them. Since 2019, it has been reported that more than 13,000 South Koreans commit suicide each year, which is approximately equivalent to 36 people taking their lives per day, an alarming amount in comparison to other countries around the world. Due to the overwhelming amount of pressure they are put under, many of them start to experience lethargy, lack in energy, reduced enjoyment in life, and instead begin to consider the idea of committing suicide as a way to escape what feels like a never-ending issue.
Mental health can take such a toll on you to the point of unfortunately wanting to take your own life. Famous singer and celebrity Demi Lovato attempted to take her life and overdosed on drugs. This was the effect due to her mental disorders, her trauma, and her mental health. It took such a toll on her that she had nowhere to go and thought it was the only way out. She also suffers from depression, which was an even bigger cause as to why she decided to take this escape route. Not only does she suffer stress from being a singer and celebrity and dealing with her chaotic life, she is also bipolar. And because she suffers from so much, like from the invasive press, the overwhelming public, and the pressure of getting new material out there, these elements in her life caused her mental illness to worsen. She was luckily found just in time and recovered in rehab.
I don't understand what? You think I don't understand pressure, Claire? Well, fuck you! Fuck you! You know why I'm here today? Do you? I'm here because Mr. Ryan found a gun in the locker.
Why'd you have a gun in your locker?
I tried. When you pull the fucking trunk on, the light's supposed to go on. It didn't go on, I mean.
What's the gun for, Brian?
Just forget it.
You brought it up, man.
I can't have an F. I can't have it. I know my parents can have it. Even if I ace the rest of the semester, I'm still only a B. Everything's ruined for me.
Brian.
Considering my options, you know?
No, killing yourself is not an option.
Well, I didn't do it, did I? No, I don't think so.
It was a handgun?
That was a flare gun. Went off in my locker. It's not funny. Yes, it is. Fucking elephant was destroyed.
The following clip is a scene from John Hughes' cult classic The Breakfast Club from 1985. This film introduces and follows the story of how 5 students, the rebellious delinquent John Bender, the sophisticated popular girl Claire Standish, the dedicated and cool athlete Andrew Clark, the stiff yet goofy brainiac Brian Johnson, and the enigmatic and introverted outcast Allison Reynolds landed themselves in Saturday detention, though they come to realize that despite their backgrounds and their differences, at the end of the day they are similar after all. The context of the scene is particular in Brian explaining how he got himself into detention in spite his peers classifying him as a nerd who was a stickler for following the rules. They find out how easily stereotypes played into their conceptions when he confesses that his reason for being there was because he had brought a flare gun to school in an attempt to commit suicide due to the fact that he had received an F for a shop class, whereas his parents are strict and unaccepting of a failed grade and are consistently on his back to have good grades and requiring him to always be productive. Respectfully, his plan backfired when it happened to go off in his locker, catching the attention of the principal. This scene perfectly embodies the overwhelming amount of pressure teenagers feel and how the relentless amount of work intervenes with our desire to be perfect and always do well academically, though. When we fail to do so for some, it greatly impacts how we see ourselves and how we begin to feel everything we do isn't right, which in turn leads to feeling of hopelessness and puts into place the start of our poor mental health. This scene also goes to show how extreme levels of worry can change you as an individual and can even lead into doing things that you didn't think you would do or were capable of committing to. Many people mistake mental health as a weakness and use a stereotype to describe others. Other misconceptions are that children don't suffer from it, and also that mental health converts you into a violent and bad person. In reality, mental health doesn't make you weak nor makes you a bad person. It means that you have just as much dedication as everyone else in order to accomplish what you need to. Also, children can suffer from mental health and illnesses at a very young age, and it can start increasing as they grow and start going to school. Mental health has such negative stereotypes that it makes it seem that there is no way out and you cannot be helped nor saved, but that just isn't true. You can heal and overcome your mental health over time, and you can be saved. We had many people of all genders, like male, female, some non-binary, a demigirl, and even surprisingly, an alien. The age group where we had the most participants in was the 14 through 17 age category. Many of the participants had said that they do experience symptoms of depression, irritation, frustration, and etc. In our anonymous submissions, most said that their daily routines and schedules are usually extreme from the amounts of workload coming from both work and school, and from other personal reasons such as sports. Someone even said that they wanted to die, which just shows how much of a toll school and work take on their mental health.